The South African Human Rights Commission in KwaZulu Natal is concerned that not enough is being done to help flood victims. These include pupils who've started writing matric exams. They're still living in shelters where safety is a concern. eNCA's Nqobile Madlala is in Durban with more on the story. Good morning, Nqobile. It really is concerning that you've got some of those that are writing matric now still in those shelters. There's a lot of noise. Yes, safety is another concern, but it becomes very difficult to study. What is the Human Rights Commission saying?
Well, I'm actually going to just start with an interview right away in Fundo so we can get that opinion from the South African Human Rights Commission. I mean, we know that a lot of students currently are writing exams. What does this mean for them when they're still in shelters?
Look, it does place students in a very difficult position because the conditions at the various mass care centers are quite challenging. It's not conducive for students to be studying because there's no privacy, there's security issues. It's a very difficult environment for a student to be able to focus in terms of studying.
And in terms of the people that have been living there for over 6 months, what is the South African Human Rights Commission saying about them?
Okay, so the South African Human Rights Commission has established a subcommittee on floods disaster. The purpose of the subcommittee is really the provincial government in assisting the flood victims and the various displaced who are housed at the various mass care centers. We've established a war room with the Minister of Human Settlements, the Mayor of eThekwini Municipality, the Deputy Mayor and various other executives. We're working closely in terms of moving or relocating those that are still currently at the various mass care centers to other accommodation which is more suitable, such as temporary residential units and other accommodation.
Have you found that the South African Human Rights has done enough to assist these victims?
As I indicated initially, there are very structures in place. We do have a monitoring framework that we've established to conduct ongoing monitoring of the situation so that we can establish what are the key ongoing challenges and how we work closely with the provincial government. We meet regularly with the Office of the Premier and the members of the executive regarding the challenges that we find from our various monitoring of the affected areas, and we engage on the appropriate relief. We are concerned as the Commission in respect of the slow response from government and the delays in moving the displaced into more suitable accommodation. So the work of the Commission is ongoing. It is a matter that we are prioritizing given the conditions not being conducive. We are particularly concerned about the vulnerable groups such as the elderly, children, women, persons with disability, students, so forth as well. So it is a matter that we're currently prioritizing.
And I mean, knowing that these people have been looking for assistance for quite some time, are we looking at a situation where they could potentially take government to court for what's been happening?
Look, that issue is still under assessment in terms of the Commission's or the steps that the Commission would be taking, but it is certainly something that we would consider, because if the timeframes are completely unreasonable, we would then have to take the necessary steps to ensure that appropriate relief is brought to the displaced.
All right. And tell us a little bit more about the ones that you've visited. Which ones would you say at the moment need more assistance in terms of shelters?
So we've been to various areas, Marion Ridge, Mulweni, various areas within Durban. There's lots of areas that we still need to cover as well, areas in the South Coast as well. And what we found is that some of the temporary residential units, for example, they do not have suitable ablution facilities, some do not have electricity. In terms of the mass care centers, some of the concerns we have is that literally there are security concerns, especially for women and children. It's really, there's no sort of division where families are divided into specific units. So you'd find everybody living in a sort of open space. There's impact to dignity. The conditions itself, are not suitable for human habitation, and those are some of the concerns that we've established. We at present have a serious concern with the response time in terms of which government is able to deal with this crisis.
Thank you very much. Well, that is South African Human Rights Commission in Durban. They're saying that they are concerned, Fundo, about the response time, which is mainly what people have said also, that it's been so long that they found themselves staying in these areas, and they've been promised areas where it would be much better. You'll remember, to some families we had spoken to in the past, they were talking about the fact that there's quite a number of them in one space, which means that they didn't have a chance to get that privacy, which is something that should be considered essentially. And the South African Human Rights Commission says they are going to be in contact with the government and continue to see how people can be helped, but they are considering also in terms of taking the legal route.